Nothing's too good for my daddy. That's why I brought him here to McDonald's. For the best cheeseburger ever. A quarter pounder with cheese. It's not skinny. It's nice and thick the way my dad likes it. And it's got 2 pieces of cheese. It's really a neat thing. And that's the way it should be, because for my dad, it's nothing but the best.
You deserve
Right, Dad?
a break today at McDonald's.
From beautiful downtown Sacramento, it's time for Beach Blanket Fort Bingo.
Beach Blanket Fort Bingo. Beach Blanket, Beach Blanket Fort Bingo, Fort Bingo. Spouses gotta show when you really wanna know what's going on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beach Blanket, Beach Blanket Fort Bingo, Fort Bingo. Art and music, golden view, and your favorite comics too. Grab a spot and settle in, 'cause it's high time we begin. Beach Blanket Fort Bingo Podcast. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Beach Blanket Fort Bingo Memorial Day Special. This is actually a crossover episode because, as you will soon see, I have as a co-host Mr. Ronnie Barnett from Ronnie Barnett's Boom Boom Room. And on this episode, both of us are going to interview probably the perfect American male specimen. Charming, witty, good-looking, charming, witty, good-looking, charming, witty, good-looking. Yes, I'm talking about the John Davidson. You remember him from That's Incredible. You remember him from Hollywood Squares and all these wonderful... He had a talk show called The John Davidson Show where he actually had Ringo and Andy Gibb on the same episode. Score! He appeared in many sitcoms over the years. He's appeared in musicals. He's recorded albums. He is a Renaissance man. And a lot of people of our age realize that this is really a big deal because John Davidson is part of our pop culture. I think what you're going to see now is something that's really going to remind you why this guy is an American treasure and why we should all thank him and admire him for all the things he's done over these years. Let me warn you, my computer crashed at the end of this interview, so it's going to cut off rather abruptly, so don't be too disappointed. Anyway, that's it for me. Dig this conversation between myself, Ronnie Barnett, and Mr. John Davidson. Yeah!
Beach Blanket Fort Bingo. Beach Blanket Fort Bingo Podcast. Beach Blanket Fort Bingo. Beach Blanket Fort Bingo Podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Davidson. This is an older version of John Davidson.
Look at all that hair, though. Jesus.
Look at
hair.
I'm in quarantine, and I'm starting to get the John Davidson 1973 look going.
I don't know why I let my hair grow long. I think my wife said, "Why don't you cut your hair?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to look like an old man." She said, "Great, now you look like an old woman." I think, I shouldn't be talking about age so much, but I wrote a song called 70 Sucks that I updated. It used to be called 60 Sucks, and then I turned 70. But I don't know. Age is a big thing. When I turned 50, I thought it was all over, and I was a game show host, and I thought, is that what it's going to say on my tombstone? Well, he was a great game show host because I started as a theater arts major, and I started on Broadway, and I thought, well, I would rather get back to my live performing. So then I started. Now I do a show with my guitar and original singer-songwriter, storyteller, and I love doing that. It's almost like a sexual experience to me, and at my age, it's much better than sexual experience. What? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, Steve. It's a little bit too much for your...
He's a little, yeah.
What is Steve? Is Steve 12? Was he born last week? Why is his face turning red? Steve?
I know we need good lighting.
Yeah, you see, John Davidson has good lighting. John Davidson
Of course
is
he
Hollywood.
does. I'm kidding him about show business, and look at us, Steve. We look all pink.
So
Yeah,
tell
I
me,
know.
Ridiculous.
how did this show get started? How did you start doing this?
Well, Ronnie, obviously, as you can tell, like behind him, he's been collecting this, rock promotional memorabilia for years, and
So he wasn't in. He wasn't in all these shows. He doesn't even know these people. He just collects the posters.
No, actually, well, okay. Ronnie is bass player of a band called the Muffs, and the Muffs were probably one of the biggest alternative bands since '93. Ronnie, is that right?
The name of the wait a minute. The name of the game is the Muffs.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It means mistake, John. Okay, it means mistake or a
like
foolish fellow.
Is this like the Beavers or the Pussies or what is this?
No, I tried,
Ronnie,
we try to stay away from that interpretation, but
Well, then don't name the band the Muffs. What do you mean?
but
where
John,
were you when I needed you in the early '90s?
But John, the lead singer of the Muffs was female.
Well, that's
So
sure.
that's a nice little balance there.
Yeah. So, Ronnie, what did you do in the band? What do you actually play?
I played bass, John. The one thing you might know by us is in the movie Clueless, "Kids in America," the song at the very beginning.
Not the Kim Wilde version, but they did a remake of.
If
Kids
you've
in
seen
America.
Clueless, most people have seen the movie Clueless. That was our claim to fame. We worked for 27 active years. Our singer passed away last October, so that ended our career. But
Yeah.
we had this mid-level kind of working career. We travel, we go to Europe, we go to Japan.
Oh my God.
A career that most bands would kill for. Never.
Yeah.
We were on Warner Brothers in the '90s.
Oh.
I can't complain. I was plaster casted.
Do you know what that is, John?
I'm trying to impress you. I'm pulling out the big guns to try and.
I don't know what that means.
I don't even want to hear that. But there was these famous groupies. Cynthia Plastercaster is probably really familiar. And when the rock stars would go through town, she was a groupie. She was a plaster caster. So what do groupies, so she's got plaster casts of Jimi Hendrix, Ding Dong, Ronnie Barnett's Ding Dong. I've never seen him and I don't want to.
It's there for you guys if you want to find it on the internet. It's
No,
out
thanks.
there.
No,
It pops up on VH1 every now and then. It's
Yeah.
Anyway.
When you say pops up, it's been a long time, guys. You're making me feel very old. I live in the woods of New Hampshire. I love it here, but no one has ever plaster casted any part of me and would never have anything in that.
But that's about all I've done, though. Whereas you have accomplished so much, John.
Well, you know what? An early manager, a guy named Bob Banner, found me on Broadway in the 60s, the 1960s. Thank you. And and he said, I said, I just want to be a Broadway guy. I just want to be a leading man in Broadway musicals. And he said, no, you could have a multifaceted career. He said, you want to just be a spear. You could be a pitchfork or a Swiss Army knife. And I said, well, that's an amazing concept. He said, yeah, why don't you, let me sign you to a contract and let me develop you as a host, as I'd already been a theater arts major, so I studied acting and I'd studied a lot of voice. But he said, you want to figure out who you are and play that character. In other words, so we worked on parts of myself that could be sellable and commercial. Who is John Davidson? We treated that as a role, and it sounds very superficial, but it's really, I think in every business, people do this. You try to figure out how people perceive you right off the bat. And when you walk into a room, what do people see? And let's build a career around that and figure. So my favorite role to play is myself, and I've done that as a host, and many actors don't think of it. I mean, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro would never work on a talk spot for doing Johnny Carson, right?
Right.
I worked on getting on the Carson show. And when I first went to the Carson show in the late 60s, and they said, no, he's just a singer actor. He can't really talk as himself. And this is something that actors never work on. So we worked on monologues and getting jokes together. I actually worked on trying to get on the Carson show by developing talk spots that were funny. And so that's the way I've approached my career, as a Swiss Army knife, as opposed to just a spear. So, I mean, let me give you an example. Tony Bennett is a spear. Johnny Mathis is a spear. They do one thing, they got one prong, and they do it very well. I've tried to develop 4 or 6 prongs, and it's made me multifaceted, but I've never really succeeded at any of them.
Well, you see, here's the thing that I've always thought about.
What
John
is the
Davidson.
thing, Steve? Tell me the thing.
You are probably one of our generation's greatest entertainers.
By golly. From your lips to God's ears, yes.
I think that's one of the, because people, they want a singer or they want an actor. When I was growing up, I couldn't figure out, is John Davidson a singer who's acting, or is he an actor who's singing? I found out later that you were doing all that. I sometimes forget about the game shows, and that's incredible and stuff. I remember the singing. I remember The Girl with Something Extra. I remember, the guest spots in TV shows. I remember, the guest spots on all the variety shows, when we were growing up. You were a mainstay in our lives. I mean, I believe that I'm speaking for Ronnie too. I mean, you've been there for probably 2/3 of our lives.
You raised us, John. You raised us.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've had some, it's been great, but it's been a confusing career. And so now when I go out, well, it's John Davidson tonight, here he comes. And many people say, well, what's he going to do? Are we going to play tic-tac-toe on a big board? Is it going to be Hollywood? Or is he going to show That's Incredible kind of weird people with 2 heads? And what's he going to do? Well, no, he started as a singer, and he has albums, and he's gonna sing, and he's gonna tell funny things, and so it is a confusing career. That's why I'm so glad to be accepted by this very confusing show that you guys are producing.
I like the Swiss Army knife analogy. Like, sometimes you're the toothpick, sometimes you're the big knife. I like it.
Good, isn't it? That's good.
Yeah, it's great. So when you did your
I'm the paper plate.
And he's the paper plate. Now, John, when you did your Vegas show, John, I mean, was that mainly singing? Were you dancing? Did you have the dancing girls? Or
very little dancing, but I went in and out of the audience. I wrote some comedy songs. I did a very, I'm not a song stylist. I've never had a hit record, so I do my version of the latest Kenny Rogers song, or the latest Barry Manilow, or Bobby Vinton, or whatever. I did everyone else's hits, the latest Tony Orlando. I guess, Tony Orlando is a singing entertainer. He's not just but he spent time in this. I never spent enough time in the studio working. I mean, I work with the Carpenters. And Richard and Karen Carpenter spend hours in the studio, and they have worked meticulously. Glenn Campbell has spent hours in the recording studio, not working on his live act, but trying to figure out how to make a record sound. Tony Orlando, these are recording artists. I've never spent that work, and I'm sorry, but I was just bored with being in a studio. I'd rather do a live show. So that's the one part of my career that I've screwed up on, because I have no musical identity. I'm an entertainer. So, and it's great because I love it that way, but I wish I had tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree, or please release me, let me go. Do I get paid more if I sing on your show? No.
Talk to him.
No. Oh, okay.
No.
Where
see,
are
but
you guys now? Are you in New York City, you lucky people?
No, I'm in Sacramento, California, and Ronnie is in Los Angeles, California.
Yes.
Oh, great. I used to play a place in Sacramento several times called the Music Circus, or what was it called? The theater in the round there. It was a tent when I first played it. It's a theater in the round.
I
called?
think it's gone now, but ironically enough, there was a great place to eat called Pancake Circus.
Steve,
Maybe you're getting them mixed up, John. Yeah.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, Steve.
Okay, but it had a
Ronnie,
circus in there.
do you have trouble keeping him focused?
Yes, it always comes back to pancakes. With
No, this was a theater in the round in Sacramento. It was called Melody Top or Melody Tent or Circle in the Round. I did Music Man there. I played Harold Hill. I did 110 in the Shade. I played Starbuck. And I did the John Davidson show there in the round, and went into the audience and sat on ladies' laps and sang to them. And
every town had one of those theaters in the round, huh? Back in the 70s.
Yeah, that was a big deal. It was before Steve was
just
born.
like dinner theater. Did you ever do dinner theater back in that when that was hot?
I did some. No, not did I?
You were above that. Yeah, you were.
Oh, I was a legend. So why would I?
You were a legend. Yeah, you were above that level.
No.
Yeah.
I've never been a legend. I'm just a working entertainer, just trying to save my ass on stage somehow. I don't know. So, Steve, what have you done before you did this show? Where did you come from?
From nowhere. I've just been just an idiot all my life, just constantly writing music reviews and stuff. And then a couple years ago, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to start putting this on YouTube and talk about music. And then about 2 months ago, a band that both Ronnie and I had, were big fans of, a band from the late 70s called 2020, they texted me and they said, hey, we want to do a Zoom thing, a Zoom live interview, since the whole tour was canceled. And then after we did that, I thought, oh my gosh, I can reach more people. And
well, that's kind of funny, because Ronnie told me that you talk too much on the show. I don't know. I don't want to get in the middle of this. I'm just saying, no, but you're a cute guy. You're a handsome man. But you've never been on stage before this, or what? You're a good-looking guy.
No, well, thank you for that. But
you're
Ronnie
much better looking than Ronnie, and so I thought maybe.
Absolutely, I'm glad that this got brought up.
No, I'm always one of the guys that wanted to be in a band, stuff like that, wrote songs with my brother. In fact, I can pedal some for your next album. And then
yeah,
actually,
people are really looking forward to my next album. All the time they say, why doesn't John Davidson record another album? Yeah.
No, okay.
Knocking down my door.
I want to bring that up, because if you go to johndavidson.com, but you've got a card game that you created with your wife. Yeah. You've got a book called Verse, which is some of your poetry and lyrics. And I noticed, because I was looking at it, and then the song that you have a picture of is the song that you sang on your Birdland show.
I Still Want to Be Your Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a song to my wife. It's a long story about where I got to it. Yeah. And right now I'm recording. I live in New Hampshire, and a guy named Ernest Thompson wrote On Golden Pond. Remember the play On Golden Pond with Katharine Hepburn and Henry Fonda.
Henry.
And Jane. But the guy who wrote that is a guy named Ernest Thompson, who still writes, produces a lot of films and stuff, but he also writes songs. He wrote a song called Live Free or Die, which is the slogan of New Hampshire, Live Free or Die. And I recorded it, and it turned out, so now we're going to do a video. And I think it could be the most important song that I've ever done, because I'd love to represent New Hampshire. Now, a lot of people say, you might say, who cares about New Hampshire? California. But it's a beautiful state, and it's where I live for the last 4 or 5 years, and so I'm excited about that. What did you ask me? What?
Oh no. I was talking about what's available on johndavidson.com.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Rhonda and I created a geography card game, which is good to play during this pandemic. You can play. It's how to learn where the states are, and you play it like Uno, except that there are 50 state cards, 4 water cards, and 2 country cards. On the back of each state card is a little map which shows you what borders that state. For example, and you want to get rid of your cards, just like in Uno. If someone played California, you can play any card that borders California, which would be what, Ronnie?
See, I need this card game so I can learn. We need to relearn.
I think we're losing everybody with the card game.
Yeah.
All right, it's too intellectual.
Arizona, John. I'll go with
That's
Arizona.
Good. Yes. What else?
Nevada.
Good. What else?
I pronounced it correctly, by the way.
Oregon.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Now, I always thought that Utah also bordered Northern California. And in Borderline, our game, Borderline USA, which you can find on johndavidson.com, you can bluff. You could play Missouri on California if nobody challenges it. So that's what makes it so much fun. Is you can bluff. You can play Maine on California, and if nobody challenges it, you got away with it. So it's a fun card game, and it teaches you geography. So what the hell?
Nice.
Yeah. So if you go to johndavidson.com, you'll be able to. In fact, you have a video link that has you explaining the whole game. And it also has pictures of the game, and you have CDs up there available.
Yeah.
More modern stuff.
Steve,
None of your early recordings.
You're so nice, but you don't need to help me sell anything. It's okay. You're so nice. Thank you. I'm just happy to be on your show and to celebrate you guys, because you asked me to do a cameo for your show. That's how we sort of connected.
Yes.
And so I watched the show. I said, I better find out what I'm talking about. I watched you guys, and I thought, wait a minute, these guys are doing a hell of a show. See, you seem to act as if you don't know what you're doing, which is just a come on, because you know exactly what you're doing. It's a very entertaining show, because we think there's going to be a train wreck. And that's, you can't take your eyes off a train wreck. You have to keep watching to see if anybody dies. And you guys go right to the edge every day.
Appreciate that, John. Yeah. I'm a spear, though. Okay, let's face it.
No, you're not. not by doing this show.
I know. Thank you. When I saw the intro, first off, I was blown away that Steve put that together. I had done a posting. I discovered the Cameo videos, and I spent an evening just intrigued with how people price themselves. And,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, no. And I'm like, John Davidson is the best value. 35. Are you kidding me? Like, you can get 3 John Davidsons for the price of 1 Lisa Loeb. Like, it made no. So I'm sure you get hired all the time.
I do a ton of them. I do. Sometimes I do like 3 or 4 in a day. I love doing cameos because I just make up stuff, and it's creative. You're doing an improv with everyone. But then I see people who are charging $200 for one of these. I say, what?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Well, I can give you names of people that are like $199. They're like $200. But I think, come on. Anyway, I love doing it, and so it's great. And I get to meet people, and I don't meet them, but I get to talk about anniversaries and birthdays and all that. It's great. And I get to meet you guys.
And well, I mean, it was an honor. I mean, when I got that thing back, I practically cried, because I thought, I expected John
Steve,
Davidson.
You really need to get out more.
I almost called you John Denver, by the way.
He gets that a lot.
I get that a lot. Oh yeah.
I expected something good, because I saw some of your little testings up there, and it ended up being so great that I wanted to tell everybody about it, but I couldn't, because I always try to surprise Ronnie because we do that show, we sit down for an hour, and then I cut it into like 5 bits or whatever, and I surprise him by inserting little strange things. And then I thought, strange, this is, I mean, when we were growing up, John Davidson was the guy we always wanted to be, and he's the guy that we always knew was going to steal our girlfriends. But that was okay because we wanted to be John Davidson. You know.
Yeah, I was big once. Now I'm just an old man living in the woods in New Hampshire, and I'll tell you quite honestly, and I can't get a lot. I have celebrity friends who I can't get to talk about this. They just don't. It is hard to come down from the mountain. Let's be honest about it. When I turned like 55 and 60, when Hollywood Squares went off, That's Incredible went off, my talk show stopped playing Las Vegas. I did some tours. Yeah, I played The Wizard in Wicked. I played Captain Hook in Finding That. I did some Broadway tours. But let's face it, the phone doesn't ring as much. Think of all the people who used to be big on TV. It is an adjustment to not have people recognize you when you go to the dry cleaners. It is, and then you don't know, should I smile at people? Because I might seem like I'm stuck up if they recognize me and I act like I'm just a regular person. Will that seem stuck up or like I don't care about them? Because some people think that they know that I know them so well because I was on TV in their living room.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting transition, but I can't get actors in their 60s, 70s to even talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. It's very interesting.
Yeah. See, back then when we were growing up, like I said, I mean, I'm not kidding when I say that everybody wanted to be John Davidson. Everybody wanted to be that good-looking, charming, but very warm and friendly person. And, that came out of the TV, that warmth and that friendliness. And then when I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm thinking like all that stuff that I thought when I was a kid, it's better because you're very personable and you are down to earth and there's that warmth and that friendliness. Now the charm is still there and you don't look 98 or however you are, no,
you're great for 105. You look great.
Yeah. But here we are, I'm not sitting here trying to, butter you up because you're doing this show for free. But it's
what?
Yeah.
Are we doing this show for
$35
free?
bucks. Yeah.
You told him I wouldn't get any money for this?
Listen, I'm realizing it's getting dark outside. Can you see me well enough? That's why I'm coming so close so I can see my.
You're getting darker. You're getting darker, and now you're
getting better.
Yeah. and now you're getting more intimate and closer, and I'm gonna move away just a little bit. No.
That's what happens when you get older. It just gets dark, and then it's over. I'm gonna turn on the light.
Well, okay.
Okay, I can pause this.
I thought you said you were out of time.
No, we've got 9 minutes and 50 seconds.
9 minutes.
Oh man, that's it. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Anyway, Steve, we were just interviewed by John Davidson.
Now, like John, how long has that picture been in the family?
I don't know. I had a great aunt who was very wealthy, lived at the Plaza in New York City. And when she died, we got it. I don't know. It's from like the 1800s. It was 19. It's not. I mean, it might be worth $1,500, but it's not it's not thousands of dollars. It's
right.
But I since we live out in the country, a cow in it. I thought and, I thought that'd be good to have a cow on your wall.
I like you tying it in. Yeah, to the. It's good.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I live on 23 acres out here. Nowhere in the country could I buy 23 acres and we have 5 bedrooms, 6 baths. It's a huge old house, and it's a lot of maintenance, but it wasn't that expensive. I don't know why, but because we're a little isolated. Wouldn't be right for everybody. I mean,
do you mow the grass, John? Do you have a tractor? You do that kind of stuff?
I have a riding lawnmower, and we have a garden that we do, and I trim, and I we're trying to clear a whole area. I've been cutting trees. I have a chainsaw, but you know, I'm in a year and a half. I'm going to be 80, and sometimes I just feel like sitting down, you know. But no, I love living out here in the country, and I like people in New Hampshire. I like people in New Hampshire are in your face. They're very outspoken. They don't give a darn that I was on TV or that I used to be this legendary thing that Steve is trying to build up with this show. It's just, they don't care. I mean, it's just, yeah, what do you want? What do you want? You know, and when you walk into stores and things. So, and now at this point in my career, unless I smile, people don't usually recognize me. I'm just an old guy. When I smile, I must have based a career on smiling. I think Donny Osmond and I smiled a lot, maybe. So, but when I don't smile, people don't usually recognize me. And anyway, you guys have made me feel great tonight. I want to thank you. You're more excited about me than my wife is.
Well, when I was growing up, John Davidson was always in the house. I mean, not literally. I mean, if he was, my dad probably would have gotten a little suspicious. But you were there, and so we would watch John Davidson with my parents. And now that both of my parents are gone, it's like you're this link that brings it all together. And see, because a lot of us don't think of you just as like the guy on TV. It's just you've been such a big part of so many different stages as we grew up.
You're very nice, Steve. To a lot of people, I mean absolutely nothing. So I appreciate you saying that, and yeah, I'm very grateful for that, actually, and it's been a great feeling of being that, and it's been great. I'm so grateful for the career that I've had, and I still sing and I still do shows. Of course, not with the pandemic. I think with this pandemic, it's going to be. I've canceled all my shows through Christmas.
Yeah.
And so I'll probably start again a year from now, you know, until we get adequate testing and until get a vaccine. Because of my age, maybe that I just don't want to go out. I don't want to infect anybody, and I don't want to be infected. And so I'm scared to go out and do that. So it's going to be a while, and that's why I appreciate doing your show.